edition of the Sports War. And we are back. We got the full crew in the house. That is what it's all about. The Yankees, out of any team in the league, are the best equipped to handle a blow like this.
I think there is a higher power at play here. He's due law of averages. That dude is the ultimate scrub. It's trash. Yeah. Every person you have in there is fucking trash.
Next game, you're going to see a big performance. You can see it in the end of the game, and I'm just totally stoked and excited for this.
What's up, everybody? We are back. I am excited. Awake this morning. I've been up since 8 a.m. grinding away. We're ready to give you the best Geno time yet. We got a lot to talk about, but first we have to say hello to our super producer, as some call him, Mike Theophil. How you doing, buddy?
Good, bro. We just finished up A Dream is Free with Chris Gonzalez, an entrepreneur, and now we're doing Geno time. And I wouldn't want to spend any other time or any other day doing anything else rather than this right now with you.
Oh, thanks, man. That means a lot.
I'm excited to hear about the F1 because I feel like from what I heard, exactly what you predicted you didn't want to happen happened.
Well, I again, we'll get into it in a little bit. Well, yeah. right off the bat, but I did not want controversy. And that's exactly what we got. I was afraid that we were going to get some craziness. I thought it was going to be on the part of Max Verstappen and him making some, not great decisions leading to a loss. But that wasn't the case. Mike, real quick though, do we have a date as to when this Dream is Free is going to be released so we can tell these people? You there?
I'm here. Keep going.
You got a Dream is Free date? Should we let them know when this is going to be out or when they should expect it? Next week? Coming week after that?
It will be out in 2 weeks, actually, because we have other Dream is Frees. We have Matt Nuccio coming out, I think today, who is a toy maker, a high-profile toy maker in the industry. Wow. So, and he's That's awesome. Kind of, when toy makers have an idea or whatever, he's where it starts.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, we've got some really good stuff coming out on Downtime, so make sure to keep an eye on that. If you don't follow us already, we're on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. But yes, there was Formula One controversy this week, and we will dive completely into that right now. So, as everybody knows, if you listen to the podcast to the show last week, this was the last race of the season. Going into the race, Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton were tied on points at 6.5 points. Max Verstappen started in first place. Lewis Hamilton started in second place. That has you caught up, and now we dive into what was the race. So right off the bat, there was controversy, and this is something that hasn't been talked about too much this week because it's been overshadowed by the late race stuff. But, right off the bat, there is a little bit of controversy. Lewis Hamilton gets a good start off the top. He's working on the medium tires. Max Verstappen working on the soft tires. Lewis Hamilton gets a good start, gets ahead in front. And then on, I think it was one of the turns, maybe turn 14, they come close. Max Verstappen looks like he passes him. If you stop the image right on the corner, Max Verstappen has about a half a car lead. Lewis Hamilton drives off the track, comes back ahead about 2 seconds in the end because he turned to get out of the way, and takes the lead. And so obviously the Red Bull people were on the phone to the race director, Michael Massey. The decision was that there would be no investigation because Lewis Hamilton gave up all the advantage that he got. My personal opinion on the situation was that Max had a half car lead, which if you're ahead, then you basically have that advantage. And the advantage would be that Max should be in first place. Coming out of that turn, Lewis Hamilton gained an advantage by going wide instead of pulling out of the challenge, which would have put in place. So right off the bat, we have controversy. My personal opinion, Red Bull screwed a little bit there, and it kind of shaped the rest of the race. Lewis Hamilton ends up getting out to a 11 or 12 second lead, maybe actually I think more than that, 15-second lead, which forces Max Verstappen to pit after there's a virtual safety car that comes out due to a car that had some damage and got stuck on the side of the road. A virtual safety car comes out. The cars bunch up a little bit. Max Verstappen stops for new tires. Lewis Hamilton can't stop for new tires because he is in first place and would have given up too much position to stop. Now, the hard tires that Lewis Hamilton had on at the time should have been enough to get him through the rest of the race, but it would have been pushing it at the end of the race. That's the first decision that leads to what we had at the end of the race. Then, on lap 54, Nicholas Latifi, who is currently driving in, I think, 17th place due to all the people that got knocked out due to car failures or whatever it may be, but he was sitting near the end of near the end of the pack. His race did not matter. He was not going to get points. It was not going to make a difference whether Williams was in terms of Williams where they finished in the standings. Nicholas Latifi was basically very unimportant and unnecessary to the race, as were most of the drivers in this race. But he crashes, big crash on lap 54 with 4 laps to go. Latifi crashes. The safety car comes out. A full safety car comes out. At this time, and I forgot to mention, on the virtual safety car, Toto Wolff, who's the Mercedes team principal, he asked them not to put out a safety car, which is a little bit manipulative in the first place and should not be allowed. And we'll get into all of that as we move on. But in this case, the safety car has to come out. The guy crashed, and there was debris all over the place. So the cars bunch up. Originally, the decision was made after Max Verstappen. There's 4 laps left, so Max Verstappen switched to fresh, soft tires. Lewis Hamilton, again, could not stop because he was in first place, and with the cars bunching up, he would not have had enough time to stop. He would have lost his track position, would have been in second place, and would have risked losing. So he does not stop. He continues on those old hard tires that are at the end of their life at that point. So the original decision after Max pits is that the cars that were in between Lewis Hamilton, the cars that were lapped over the entire race, which was basically 18 of the 20 cars, not Lewis Hamilton and not Max Verstappen, a majority of the cars, the ones that were lapped, were not going to be allowed to unlap themselves, which is not, it is a little bit unprecedented, but in the rules it says the race director may allow them to lap the other cars. In this case, but I guess they don't have to allow it according to the rules. So he originally makes the decision not to allow the cars to unlap themselves. And there were 5 cars, I believe, in between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. If they did get the race started at any point, which it is possible that the race was not going to start because the race can end on a safety car, then Max would not have had enough time to clear all 5 cars and get past Lewis because it would have only been 1 lap. And on a safety car, you're not allowed to pass. Everybody basically follows this Mercedes around the track. They go like 50 miles an hour, not allowed to pass at all. At the last second, on the last second of the 57th lap, as they pass the pit lane, or as they go near the pit lane, the announcement from the race director, Michael Massey, says that the cars will be allowed to unlap themselves to let only the 5 cars in between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton unlap themselves. And they will, and then they will restart the race on the last lap, the 58th lap, with the safety car going in the pit lane right away. A little bit of controversy about this and the fact that the safety car, it said that when the safety car is deemed no longer needed, that you're supposed to do 1 more lap afterwards. But we will get into all the rules. ESPN wrote a great article on it. We'll get into all the rules when we discuss the controversy. In the end, they let the 5 cars go by. Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton basically start at even points. Lewis Hamilton gets passed by Max Verstappen because Max is on much fresher tires and better tires and quicker tires. And Max Verstappen not only wins the race, but wins the Drivers' Championship. What is wrong about this? So, again, as I mentioned, we're going to get into all of this. We're going to break it all down. But what is wrong first? First, I think I'll give you guys my opinion on the whole situation first. So my thoughts on the final decision. I agree with the decision to only let the 5 cars pass. I agree with the decision to only let the 5 cars go by so that they can get one last lap of racing in under the rules. Because in my personal opinion, it would not be right for a championship and a race to be decided on a virtual safety car with guys going around the race 50 miles an hour, not really a real race. And just, nobody allowed to pass. And basically the driver is allowed to basically just go to the finish line with 4 laps remaining and not have any worry of being passed. My problem, and I only have one real problem with the decision, with when they made the decision. Originally, they made the decision early, and it allowed both the teams to decide what they wanted to do. But again, changing the decision at the end created problems. Mercedes could not react to the decision. And even if they weren't going to be able to react to the decision in the beginning, which they probably would not have been able to, I think it was unfair to Mercedes to make that call at the very last second to not prepare them for what was going to come. I think that was my biggest problem with it. I don't have any problem with the way the race ended. I think the way things went were the right way to go about it, because I agree that it, as race director Michael Massey said, it is a motor race. We're racing here. So for my personal opinion is that no race should be able to end on a safety car. And that's something that we will talk about on what needs to change. We're going to talk about what needs to change with the F1. But I think the way they went about it was very controversial, was very unfair to Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes. And I think that it just wasn't right the way they went about it. And let's go through the rules here. Again, ESPN wrote a really good article. It's called Inside the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, How F1 Crowned Max Verstappen World Champion Twice. And to explain the twice part, now, after all this controversy, Mercedes obviously not happy at all. They got screwed a little bit. So they protested the decision with the FIA stewards. The stewards came to the decision that race director Michael Massey was correct. The protest would not be upheld, and then Max Verstappen would be named champion officially. Mercedes had a chance to appeal that decision. That was up until Thursday. Thursday was their deadline. They did not appeal the decision. They decided to drop it. But Toto Wolff and Lewis Hamilton did not show up to the F1 Awards Gala on Thursday. And there is word that Lewis Hamilton, according to Toto Wolff, Lewis Hamilton is not sure if he's going to race next year, which in my opinion is a little bit of pettiness, a little bit of being a baby. And let me just read a bookmark tweet here that I have from Mercedes. This is back earlier in the season. Mercedes said, the team will not be appealing Lewis's disqualification from quali. We want to win world championships on the racetrack. So, I mean, listen, a little bit of a double standard there to say that you want to win them on the racetrack. And then when there's a virtual safety car out that can be easily, deterred, but it's not in your favor, you then choose that you would much rather not win it on the racetrack and you'd rather cruise in a kind of victory formation for 4 laps to the championship. But here is what the rulings are said, and let me just find it here as I scroll through this article. So if I can find it, where did you go? But basically the rules, here they are. So Article 48.12, and this is what Mercedes it was arguing. Article 48.12 states that the restart should occur the lap after the last of the lapped cars have unlapped themselves. Meaning that if the procedure had fully played out, which would have been not just the 5 cars unlapping themselves, that all the cars had to unlap themselves, the safety car would not have been able to enter the pits until the end of the final lap, meaning there would not have been enough time for a full lap of racing and Verstappen's overtake. So that is what Mercedes was basically arguing. And so in response to Mercedes' protest, this is what the stewards came up with. They used another rule, Article 15.3 of the sporting regulations, to defend Massey's decision to let the five cars unlap themselves. The rule states that the race director shall have overriding authority on the use of the safety car, meaning he can override rules if he sees fit. Again, there is still some controversy in that. That is a safety decision rather than a sporting reason that you would believe Michael Massey used, a sporting and entertainment reason. The stewards also cited Article 48.13 to explain why the safety car seemingly came in a lap too early. As I mentioned before, safety cars are supposed to do another full lap after the safety car is deemed unnecessary. But the article states that once the message "safety car in this lap" has been displayed, as it was lap 57 by race control, it is mandatory to bring the safety car back into the pits, therefore overriding the provision to leave a lap between the final car unlapping itself and the race getting back underway. So that's how they defended the decision. Does it give a little bit too much of a leeway to the race director? I would agree with that, but it is in the rules. And my personal opinion is that I want to see a race. I'm a neutral person. And I want, in this situation, I'm a neutral person. I'm a McLaren fan. And my personal opinion is if Lando Norris was in that situation or Daniel Ricciardo was in that situation, I would want to see them get the opportunity after 22 races and 54 laps. I would want to see them get the opportunity to get that last lap in and race for the championship. I try and kind of, and I don't know if this is a good, comparison, but I think of it like this. Think about a basketball game, right? Think about if basketball was played and in the final 3 minutes of a basketball game, once the winning team got possession, the shot clock went off. There was no shot clock. And the team wasn't allowed to take the ball away. The other team had to miss a shot, basically, for the other team to get the ball back and win. No matter how big the lead. Could have been a 1-point lead. Could have been a 10-point lead. But the winning team would, they basically would be able to hold on to the ball for the last 3 minutes. That's kind of what it is like here, in my personal opinion. Mercedes was, if the safety car was deemed, and they say, 4 laps for, especially an accident of that severity, is not unusual for that. So if the safety car was supposed to go out and come in at the right time, we'd be ending on a race. We'd be ending 22 races, I think it is. It ended up being, I think there were supposed to be more, but it ended up being 22 races, I believe. The 22nd race, the race for the championship, tied on points, would be ending on the winning car going around the lap, going around the track 4 times, uncontested, with no chance really of getting beat, and no chance of a race, even though there was a safety car which bunches the cars up. There are Mercedes people who would say, well, Lewis Hamilton had an 11-second lead. He had an 11-second lead the entire race. He defended. He never gave anything up. My opinion to that is I understand that, but it's not Max Verstappen's fault. It's not Mercedes' fault. It's not the FIA race director Michael Massey's fault that Nicholas Latifi went into the wall. And in that case, the rules state that the cars, or the way the rules go and the way the race goes, the cars bunch up. So basically, Max Verstappen made the right decisions. And he had more decisions at his disposal. That's just how it is when you're in first place or in second place compared to first place. If you recall, there's a race earlier in the season where Lando Norris, at the end of his race, it started to rain. He was in first place. It would have been his first ever victory. If he pitted, he would have given Lewis Hamilton the chance to pass him. He doesn't pit. It starts pouring. Lewis Hamilton does pit because he's in second and has to lose, and puts on intermediate tires and finishes in first place because Lando can't control his car the rest of the race. It's just how things go. That's just how things go. And in my personal opinion, It's just how things go that Nicholas Latifi went into the wall and there was a safety car. And I don't think there should be any way that a race should be able to end on a safety car. I've seen some things on Twitter, and I agree with them, that I believe that maybe they should have red flagged the race. Red flag the race, suspend the race, bring everybody into the pits, and let Lewis change to the soft tires and let them go for 5 laps. It's hard to add an extra lap because a lot of these teams carry just enough fuel for them to get through the race and 1 lap after that, because the less fuel you have, the quicker you can go. It's all in the dynamics of it, the analytics of it, all that. But I believe that a red flag wouldn't have been the worst decision. I think that would have been a good decision. But again, if you don't choose to do this, you don't choose to unlap the cars, Max Verstappen makes all the right decisions because he has them at his disposal. And Lewis Hamilton's on old race tires, but he gets the benefit of, because he pitted. He had passed a bunch of these cars already, but because he pitted, these cars went back in front of him because he went on the soft tires, because he thought, if I get the opportunity to race, and we should get the opportunity to race, I want to be prepared. And he had nothing to lose. He was always going to finish in second no matter what. So my opinion is that we should give them the opportunity to race. We should give them the opportunity to race. There should be no virtual safety car that ends the lap, because it's basically a forfeit. It's basically calling the match, calling the race, calling a game before it's over. It's saying, okay, well, this team's up 20-10, so we're just going to stop the game here in the third quarter. Things happen. And unfortunately, because Lewis is in first place, he had less options to his disposal. Now, I did mention how Toto Wolff had gotten on the radio. In this situation, Red Bull's team principal, Christian Horner, also got on the radio. And I think that needs to change. And I think that the F1 directors, the stewards, the governing body agree that needs to change. And listen, this isn't the first controversial decision that's been made this season. Not the first in Max Verstappen's favor, not the first in Lewis Hamilton's favor. There's been plenty of decisions that have gone Lewis Hamilton's way. And if you think Lewis Hamilton wouldn't want the same thing from him in his situation, if you think that Lewis Hamilton wouldn't want the same thing to happen to him if he was in Max Verstappen's situation, you're crazy. You're crazy. Racing can be unfair sometimes. Lewis Hamilton was racing with Alex Albon in a race, I think it was last year or 2 years ago, and hit Alex Albon. It kind of illegally went out of the way and accidentally hit Alex Albon, forced himself into a position that maybe he shouldn't have been in. And Alex Albon avoided his first podium, and now Alex Albon was out of a job this past season. So, it's racing. It's not always fair because things happen. It's not always fair. We've learned that in the Lando Norris situation. We learned that in the first lap of this race when Max Verstappen, in my opinion, was unfairly judged to have, or Lewis Hamilton was unfairly judged to have gained or given the advantage back. In my opinion, Max Verstappen should have been in first place. And then it's a completely different race. If Max Verstappen's in first place all the way, then Lewis Hamilton's in that position. And Lewis Hamilton gets the benefit. And Lewis Hamilton wins the race. So this isn't the first controversial decision. I have a couple questions that I brought up in my head. Too much pressure on the race director? I think so. In the past, they've had 2 race directors up there. Michael Massey was the only race director this entire season. And I think in a situation like that, where you have on your mind the sport, the racing, what's fair, what's unfair, you have team principals in your ear every second. It's hard to make the right decision in 4 laps while trying to clean up an accident that happened. It's hard to make that right decision. You wouldn't be able to make that right decision. I wouldn't be able to make that right decision. It's very hard. So I think there's a lot of pressure on the race director, and there's too much pressure on the race director. And I agree that there needs to be a change. I'm not sure the team principal should be allowed to contact the race director and influence his decision in any way, whether it be for Toto Wolff or Christian Horner or the McLaren team principal or the Haas team principal, whoever it may be. I don't think that they should get the opportunity to talk to the race director because then it influences their decision. We saw the incident with Toto Wolff earlier in the season sending the emails, which is so funny to everybody now. But how fair is that to Michael Massey? It's not very fair. I don't think a race should finish on a safety car ever. I think that rule needs to change. I think that there needs to be a rule implemented that if a car comes within the last 5 laps, maybe we red flag the lap, maybe we figure something out, because I don't think a race should be finishing on a safety car. I think that's just ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous. Should Michael Massey remain as race director next year? In my personal opinion, no, because this isn't the only bad decision he's made. And again, I know that there's a lot of pressure on him, but there's been very easy decisions that he is not really came to a good conclusion with. And it also protects the integrity of the sport. I honestly think it's going to be a matter of F1 needs a scapegoat, and they're going to need to find somebody. And I think that Michael Massey is going to be that scapegoat, and I think he's going to be the one, which maybe rightfully so, is going to be dropped. But I think there need to be changes. I think there need to be changes, because something like this shouldn't be happening. It shouldn't be up to a race director to decide a race or decide how the outcome of race comes, whether it be the right decision or not. It shouldn't be up to a safety car to decide that, or a car. My personal opinion on the 5 on lap cars, because a lot of people are not arguing about the fact that all lap cars should have been able to go through. Who cares about the other 18 cars on the track? Who cares about those cars? All 18 of those cars had no difference in either of the drivers or the constructors championship. The positions that they were in did not matter for the constructors championship in terms of finishing in a place for money. It didn't matter. Those 18 cars did not matter. The only 2 cars in the race that mattered were Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. And I think, in my opinion, they made the right decision, but they made the right decision too late. And unfortunately, it has people, including my brother, who is a Mercedes fan, and I think maybe, I don't know if he's watching, but I think maybe he's letting his Mercedes judgment, I think he's letting his Mercedes judgment get in the way of his decision making and his thought process. Because I've thought about this. We had an hour and a half long argument after the race, because I was on the opposite side. He was for Mercedes and their side. And I've thought about this over the week, because I want to be fair and I want to be impartial, and I am a neutral in this situation. And I still agree with the decision I came up with. I still agree that what happened was fair, just in the way it happened was not fair to Lewis Hamilton. But Mercedes fans are not happy. Mercedes is not happy. And I understand that. I wouldn't be happy if I was in their position either, but I think it is the right way to end the race. I think it's only fair to the season, to those who watch F1 and give their dedication, that we don't end it on a safety car. But again, those are the rules, and maybe some people would believe it otherwise, but it's hard for me to look at that and say, after 21 races and 54 laps, we're going to sit here and we're going to say that Lewis Hamilton is just going to take a victory lap, even though Max Verstappen made all the right decisions and God put himself in a position to win the race at the end of the race. So that's how I feel about the decision. I don't know if you guys agree. If you don't agree, I understand. You're right to your opinion, but that's how I feel about it. And, I just spent a half hour basically talking about that. But I think I got my point across. I think I explained everything that I needed to explain. I tried to include the rules. I tried to give you guys as much information as you possibly have to make your own decisions if you don't know. What's in store for next season? Who knows? Lewis Hamilton may not be on the grid next season because of this. And I think that's a little bit of being a baby on his part. He's won 6 straight world championships. They've won 8 straight constructors championships. Lewis Hamilton has 7 total world championships. He's a competitor, and I understand that. But it's not the end of the world. It's not the first bad decision that's been made by a race director, and it's not the last that'll be made by a race director. And I understand that this one is easily the biggest that we've seen in a very long time. But in my opinion, it's being a little bit of a baby to do that. Being a little petty to say that. Hopefully, I want him to be back, because it just means that we're going to get a Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen battle again next season. Mercedes and Red Bull's battle again next season. And I think that would be a lot of fun. I think that would be a lot of fun. So let's hope we get that. Let's see what's in store for next season. Hopefully McLaren is a little bit better. That would be ideal. But it's been a fantastic F1 season. The best one I've seen since I started watching a few years ago. I love this sport. I still love this sport. I'm not going to stop watching. despite other people saying they might. But I love this sport, and I can't wait to see what next season has in store. That's it for that controversy. But of course, and I say this to my brother. I said this to my brother. I don't think I actually may not have said it to him, but he was saying, "Oh, I'm not going to watch the sport. It's like a reality TV show. The controversy, the decision making." We both watch soccer. We both watch soccer religiously, and soccer is easily one of the most corrupt sports in the world. And the head people in soccer have made their decisions. And of course, it wouldn't be a complete weekend without some soccer corruption, or possible corruption, controversy, whatever you want to call it. The UEFA Champions League draw was this season. Sorry, not this season. The UEFA Champions League draw was this past week. And Mike, I understand that you're back. Are you back, buddy? Are you with me?
I'm with you, bud.
How much of that did you hear?
I heard a good amount.
Okay, cool.
But I hope he does battle back and play next year and race.
Yeah, I think so too. I hope so too. I think it's just a big thing, like a big ploy or whatnot. I think it's a big bargaining piece in terms of, Lewis Hamilton could leave. Why don't you fire the race director and then he'll come back, because Lewis Hamilton is a big attraction of the sport. So, I think it's, but I hope I described it, well, and I hope I at least, if you don't share the same opinion as me, you understand my side. But yeah, that's my decision. But we're going to get into the UEFA controversy. There was a controversy this week. So UEFA had their Champions League draw this week for the Champions League knockout stages. Originally, the draw took place. Manchester United was drawn against PSG. Now, you may say, okay, Manchester United, PSG, it's great, whatever. But there is the added factor of Massey playing Ronaldo in that case. But there was some controversy in the way into the conclusion of this draw. Now, I believe it was Manchester United's ball. What they do in these UEFA League draws, they put all the balls into separate bowls, and then they take some balls out due to, regional stuff. You're not allowed to be drawn against a regional opponent. So Manchester United can't be drawn against Manchester City in the first round of the knockout stages, this, that, and the other thing. What happened was, I think it was Manchester United's ball that was not correctly placed in the right spot, leading some people to believe that they were trying to rig the draw in favor of Manchester United PSG so we can get the Messi Ronaldo. UEFA comes out. They announced that there was a problem with the draw. There was some technical difficulties or something, and there will be a redraw that happened, and teams got worse or better draws because of it. Real Madrid specifically was drawn against Benfica in the first round of the draw, and they didn't want the redraw to happen because they liked their draw, and in the end they ended up with PSG, which is a significantly worse draw for them. Chelsea actually got the same exact draw, so they were not upset with the redraw. They draw now. I don't know how that happened, but somehow by some stroke of luck, they got the same draw. But some people are questioning corruption from soccer, riggedness from the draw being rigged. I put here in my notes, no, that can't be possible. It's never happened before. But the reality is, yeah, it's happened, and it probably did happen. Because let's be honest here, when we originally drew the groups earlier this season for the UEFA's Champions League, who was drawn in the same group as PSG, where Lionel Messi was? Manchester City. Now, again, you may be saying, why does Manchester City have a problem? What is the play with that? Well, at the time, Cristiano Ronaldo was headed to Manchester City. Cristiano Ronaldo was reportedly on his way to Manchester City to complete a transfer there, and we would have gotten Ronaldo versus Messi twice in the group stage. So, if you think that there isn't a little bit of corruption in all of this, I think you're being a little naive. Because somehow, the only two times we've drawn this season, we've gotten the potential Ronaldo-Messi clash. And listen, we may not get it ever again. We don't know when Ronaldo is going to retire. We don't know when Messi's going to retire. So clearly there's a little something going on. But that was the controversy that UEFA had this week. It was a week full of controversy amidst the fact that the Premier League gave soft penalties to some of the top teams. And there was some calls that, oh man, the top teams are getting all the good calls. It's because the Premier League wants it to play out a certain way. Listen, I mean, there's controversy all over the place. Specifically in soccer, there's a lot of controversy. There's people making decisions that, you look at, I look at, and going back to the Formula One discussion and the controversy discussion in general, I said that there's no one, we talk about corruption in sports, and there should be no one person that is allowed to influence a decision in any way. But this UEFA controversy brings me back to the college football playoff. What happened there? Somehow we got Alabama and Georgia in separate games. And there's only four teams that are drawn. So you can easily handpick the championship that you would like to happen by putting those teams in different spots. So if you think there isn't corruption in sports, if you think there isn't bad decisions, if you think there isn't things being rigged, you're being naive. You're being naive. And I think that is, I think we just need to, unfortunately, live with the fact. I mean, look at even Major League Baseball. There was question of whether Rob Manfred was controlling the outcomes of games because the Major League Baseball was playing with different types of balls each game. They had higher strung balls that were more juiced up. They had balls that were less juiced up. So listen, it happens. Unfortunately, it's the way things go. But hopefully we can start to figure some of this out and take a lot of it out of, a lot of controversy out of the situation. But unfortunately, I think it's something that we're going to have to see over and over again. It doesn't make it right. But it's not something that I'll stop watching sports over, because if I stop watching one sport over, I'll have to stop watching all sports over it. Because things like this happen in all sports. They may not happen at the same time. They may not happen at the same time period, but they happen. So,
agreed.
You agree?
Yeah.
We talked about this with boxing.
Dude. Look at basketball. Look at Chicago Bulls had a 0.8% chance to get the first overall pick, and then of course that year was a homegrown Chicago kid named Derrick Rose, and they got the first overall pick. LeBron leaves. Cleveland gets 3 straight first overall picks in the draft.
Listen,
Chris Paul can't go to LA.
Chris Paul can't go to LA. Exactly. Chris Paul can't go to LA. But a season later, we're having super teams being formed.
Yeah.
Right.
No, so the NBA is one of the worst with it.
How about what was the referee's name who fixed all those games?
Yeah. Who? Donahue. Tim Donahue.
Yeah, Tim Donahue. Yeah. How about the fact that the league has discussions with the referees on certain things and tells them basically how to call the game.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was on TikTok, and there was a dude who was a former NFL player that came out, and he didn't he's not naming himself type thing. You don't even see his face, but he was on a podcast, and he said that the NFL is completely rigged. Like, they know who's going to win the Super Bowl every year.
I mean, it might be possible, I mean, who knows? But, what do you, what am I going to do about it? I'm going to continue watching this.
His name's Dwight Smith.
Dwight Smith on TikTok?
Yeah. No. Dwight Smith is the guy who exposed NFL for rigging games.
Gotcha. Interesting. But, listen.
Super Bowl champ Dwight Smith says every Super Bowl decided by Vegas.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's as much as you don't want to believe it.
Matt says he has a prediction. He says Raiders in 2024 because it's in Vegas.
You think so? I don't know. I think that would be too obvious, right?
Who they predict this year in Vegas for NFL?
Not the Chargers. It's in LA.
Who'd they predict for this year? in the beginning of the year. Do you know or no? It's all right.
I don't know what the original.
I'm sure we could phone a friend. Brian Barnaby would know.
Yeah, Brian Barnaby would know. But yeah, I mean, listen, I mean, it's sports, as much as you don't want to say it is about the play on the field, but sports is entertainment. And, in a neutral situation.
Days. Think about Rome, the empire. They used to use gladiators.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not saying, I'm not trying to be some conspiracy theorist here. I'm just stating facts, I think, in the most part.
I know you are. Dude,
these are things that have happened and have come out and have, been proven that there was corruption or there was some wrongdoing in this. So, listen, I mean, it's not every sport. It's not every day. It's not every year. It's not every decade, but it happens. And I think we need to, I think a lot of people, a lot of these people who were upset about the Lewis Hamilton thing are British, right? Soccer is probably their favorite sport. It's literally the most corrupt sport in the entire world. And I watch it every day religiously. So I'm not going to stop watching the F1 stuff. I'm not going to stop watching soccer. I'm not going to stop watching anything. So, yeah, but let's move on a little bit. I got some things I want to touch on. Those will be my two big discussions for today, the corruption. But there is, COVID is affecting multiple sports again. And, I asked the question, and I've talked about this on my, Everton, talking about Everton and whatnot. But, the question is, should we just pause all the games for the next few weeks? Is it realistic to do that? Is it fair to the players and to the fans who are coming to the games to risk themselves going to the games and, for the possibility of it being canceled, for more COVID cases to pop up, this, that, and the other thing. We learned last year that the Delta variant came and it went, and, the winter is a big time for this stuff. So what's the problem with taking a couple weeks off to get everybody in line, to get everybody healthy, to get everybody on the same page? I don't think there's any problem with that. But I do bring up the point that for a sport like football and the NFL, is it really realistic to do that? I'm not sure it is. I'm not sure it is, because the problem with football is they have a scheduled date for a Super Bowl. They have a scheduled date that they've booked a neutral venue for, similar with college football and the bowl games. Those venues have other things going on, have concerts, have people coming in, comedies or comedy skits or whatever you want to call it. They have other things going on, and other people do accommodate and whatnot, and other places they're getting their money from. So it is kind of hard for the NFL to just say, let's pause for 2 weeks and cancel all these games. And as much as I think it would be the right decision, you can't play an NFL game 2 or 3 times a week like you can a soccer or basketball, or you can't pack these games in. You can't really move the schedule around. There's not really much room for that. So it is, unless you, in the middle of the season, decide that there's not going to be as many playoff teams, which would be unfair to the teams that have been fighting for playoff spots the entire season. So it's not really realistic for the NFL. I think other sports like college basketball could do it. I think basketball could do it. I think hockey could do it, just because they're not set and locked into these things. I know these arenas have other things that are going on, but something like an NFL stadium has a whole spring through summer schedule. If and can only really be played on Sundays is what we've decided. If a hockey game has to be rescheduled to another Tuesday, it's not the end of the world. It can be done. But I think, especially in soccer's seen 6 of the 10 Premier League matches this weekend have already been postponed. Right now, Arsenal's playing Leeds. But who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? 3 more might be postponed tomorrow. We've already had a bunch of postponements this past week. So I think that might be a realistic thing to think about, instead of putting these players' health at risk, instead of putting these fans' health at risk. It might be the best decision, even though I don't want to see it. I want to talk about sports. I want to watch sports. Even though I don't want to see it, it might be something to talk about. And Mike, I want to talk to you about, again, we mentioned you played college basketball. With this type of situation where players are going on COVID pauses and players are going on breaks and this, that, and the other thing, how difficult is it for like a sports team or a college basketball team to kind of stay in a groove when it's like, okay, well, we're supposed to have a game tomorrow, but that's actually going to be canceled now. And we're supposed to play on Monday now when we were supposed to have practice, or we were supposed to be traveling to this place. How much does that screw with your routine? How much does that screw with the team chemistry and the team, vibe, I guess?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it depends on the team, right? So if you're an elite team, it's not going to bother you because it's just what it is. You know what I mean? Your routine daily is still the same.
Yeah.
And you guys play together, and those games are literally the same type of competitiveness and runs. So you're not going to miss a beat. It's depending on the team. But I just think I have a question. So with all this, with vaxxed and non-vaxxed getting it, why not just treat it as if it is the flu, and people who are feeling effects don't play, people who don't have effects play, because clearly it's like it doesn't matter either way if you're vaxxed or not vaxxed.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the argument to that would be that the symptoms are significantly more mild, or you're asymptomatic if you're vaxxed, according to what we've seen from these players. And I think, I don't think the flu has the hospitalization or I guess death. And I don't want to make this political, but
no,
I don't think
it's just facts that
I don't think that the flu has,
since the vaccine has been out, there have been more deaths than the last year without the vax. That's a fact, right? So it's just like I don't see why. It's the same. And if you look at deaths per year, because I've looked at the numbers, they're all the same. The same amount of people have died yearly. It's not like more people have died the past 2 years on average or whatever. It's still right there. It's just COVID is a reason. That's instead of like a flu for other ones or cancer for others, or whatever is leading the way that year. But I just don't see why if people are still getting it regardless.
Well, again, I think that the big thing is that, again, the symptoms have proven, I guess, to be more severe for the people who are unvaxxed. I mean, listen, there are facts coming from, like, if you look at soccer, right, and the Premier League has been, has had a ton of games canceled this past week. The vaccination rates in the Premier League are about, I think, 75% from what I saw earlier this week. The vaccination rates in the Serie A, La Liga, Liga 1, Bundesliga, which are the other 5 major leagues, are all above 90%. And all those leagues are currently operating fine. They're not canceling matches. They're playing matches. Everything's been fine. So I think the thing with that is it's still not like, I think it's still severe for those who are unvaccinated enough that it's going to, I don't think you see as many 30-year-old people dying from the flu as you may see from, and again, I don't have numbers. I don't know. This is just going from what I've heard and what I've seen. So, but my thing is, I guess it would have to do with the severity of when you're unvaccinated, what the symptoms may be like and how they may treat you. Because, a person with the flu, right? If you get the flu, you're not, at our age, right? At 25, 30 years old, whatever it may be, you're probably not as worried about,
that's the thing. So the older generation has to be worried, obviously, for anything, though. It's not just.
No, I agree.
They have to be. But what I just want to say to the viewers out there, I recommend, it just came out, episode 1747. It's crazy to read, of the Joe Rogan Experience with Dr. Peter A. McCullough. It's a must watch. It's about it's facts. It's all facts. And I don't even know if you saw, Joe Rogan even had, I think, Fox or CNN, one of their hosts on, I'll get the name up just so I'm not like botching it, on his show. And he just totally, because everybody's going at Joe Rogan for how he handled his treatment for COVID, when it's nothing's bad about it, just natural, So, but he had these guys come on. I just think people need to go see those sources too, because if more people were educated on the subject, then these people wouldn't be accepting like those decisions in sports or whatever. Like it's just like we would be moving past this right now more.
I understand. I think there is a time when we will end up moving past it and it will be treated more like the flu. But I mean, listen, I'm not going to tell you what to do or what you should do or what you shouldn't do. I will let you know that I am vaccinated. I'm fully vaccinated.
Yeah, no,
I'm going to get the booster shot this week. So I believe that it has helped me, I guess.
CNN, Brian Stelter. That's who it was, by the way. Brian Stelter from CNN.
Gotcha. Yeah, my personal opinion is what my personal opinion is. I personally believe that's how it is. I believe that it does help, but if you do, I'm not going to sit here. I'm not a doctor. I'm not one to sit here and tell you that you should get it. I mean, listen, I want, from my personal perspective, in the way I feel about it, I want all my family, all my friends to do that, obviously. But my grandma isn't vaccinated, and that's her personal decision. And am I okay with that? Not really. But I can't really do anything about it. I can't really, it's unfortunate because in my opinion, it puts her at a significant more risk. But again, I'm not here to change anybody's opinion. I'm not here to, I'm a sports guy. I'm here to talk about sports. So, I didn't
divert.
No, yeah. No, I just want to let people know that where I come from and why I'm saying what I believe. And listen, I understand that people have all these different ways of thinking, man. It's the way it is. And unfortunately, it's kind of put us at odds ends with each other not you and me, but society, in terms of how we're approaching this. So, I'm not here to change your decision. I just have my personal opinions on it. And, you can have your personal opinions and do whatever you want. It's just how I feel,
Of course.
Yeah. So listen, let's move off of the crazy stuff. Let's move off of the controversy. We've talked about enough controversy today, I think. But I do want to talk about college basketball a little bit. I do want to talk about, what's been going on these past few weeks. I don't really understand college basketball, and I'm going to take you through a couple things that have happened over the past couple weeks. St. Bonaventure largely was considered at the beginning of the season the top-ranked mid-major school in the country, top-ranked mid-major program in the country. Yesterday, they lost by 40 points, I think, to Virginia Tech. That's coming off a loss to UConn. They've been not great all season. They currently only have 5 players that actually play. But Virginia Tech.
Only have 5?
Why do they only have 5? They don't have a bench. They don't have a bench.
And they were one of the top teams coming in.
They just have a bunch of they have 5 really good players that play all their minutes. So, but they were ranked at the beginning of the season. So, but the thing is, they lose to Virginia Tech by almost 40. But then Virginia Tech goes in earlier before they beat St. Bonaventure, lost to Dayton, who is arguably worse than St. Bonaventure, even now, arguably worse than St. Bonaventure earlier this week. That's the first explanation. Second explanation, Creighton beats Nova by 20 the other day. Creighton lost to, remember Arizona State, the team that scored 27 points in a full NCAA basketball game? Creighton lost to them earlier this week and beat BYU, who was also ranked before that. So I don't really understand that. And Alabama, they go on, they beat Gonzaga, they beat Houston, and then they lose to Memphis, who has been arguably one of the biggest disappointments of the season so far. So I don't know what is going on with college basketball. It's a bunch of craziness. Will say on the Nova situation, they also lost to Baylor earlier this week on Sunday, I think it was. And they did not look good. Connor Gillespie's really their only guy that has any real ability, I think, to create a shot for himself. He's often had a lot of things put on his shoulders. And that Baylor's defense was stifling. I mean, that Baylor defense is almost as good as it was last season with Davion Mitchell and the guys they had there. The Baylor team is good, man. The Baylor team is now was the best team in the country after Purdue lost last week, and they got another scare against NC State last Saturday. But I think that this Baylor team is the best team in the country. I think that they are, I think that they are by and far, they've proven that they're the best, and they've passed all their tests. So, but against, Connor Gillespie, this Nova team has a lot to figure out because Connor Gillespie cannot clearly do it all, especially coming off of injury. He was a problem. It was a problem in the UCLA game. It was a problem in the Baylor game. I didn't watch this Creighton game, but I imagine it was a problem in the Creighton game. If you take away Connor Gillespie, you're going to have success against Villanova. And I think that's something we all need to, I think it's something Villanova needs to figure out. And I think that's something that we might see as the season continues and as we get into Big East play here, because Seton Hall has looked really good. Marquette's looked pretty good. I think there's going to be some teams up there. St. John's has looked pretty good. I think there's going to be some teams that they're challenging Villanova. I don't think they're going to run away with this Big East. So Big East play starts soon, so that'll be exciting, but something to watch out for there. And then on the Houston-Alabama game, there was some controversy in this game. The theme of today's pod, controversy. Houston wanted goaltending on a last-second swatted ball. I watched the replay. I didn't see the game live, but I watched the replay. It did look like the ball was above the rim. So I will give Houston that. Alabama goes on to win the game by 1 point. Excuse me. And that's how that one ends. And I understand Houston's gripe with it, but still a hard-fought loss for Houston. And listen, I don't think anybody's looking at them any worse off than they did before that Alabama match. And then a couple things to touch on for college basketball. Kentucky loses to Notre Dame. Just another what the fuck moment in college basketball. Colorado State wins again. They're 10-0 now, and I think officially ranked. They've beaten Mississippi State, Creighton, and St. Mary's as their big schools that they've beaten. So that's a pretty good resume so far going into conference play shortly. Oklahoma smokes Arkansas by 22. This is the same Oklahoma team that lost to Butler and Utah State. So again, I don't really understand what's happening. And then Chicago State, who has been the worst basketball team in D1 over the course of many seasons now. They won They won their fourth D1 game they won their fourth D1 game this season. They've won 4 D1 games in a season for the first time since 2014, 2015. So, there is, it's a crazy college basketball season. I don't really know what's going on, but that is your update from the college basketball world. I'm not going to give any picks today because I didn't really have time to look and watch games this week. I've been really busy with some other stuff and regular work, so I haven't really had time to watch the games. But there's a lot of good. Go ahead.
Do you want Solo to call in and give some picks? Yeah.
If Solo wants to give some picks, I think he was in the chat.
Cool. So, yeah. He was calling in. I told him I'd give him the cue, the bat.
Yeah. Solo, it'd be great to have him on and have some picks.
Calling right now. Hold on 1 sec.
I haven't even looked at the lines today.
On Solo. And Solo, you're live.
How we do?
Solo, how's it going, buddy?
Good, man. How are we doing? Can I give out some college basketball plays?
Please do.
I think some of them already started at the 1 o'clock slot, but the Drexel game hasn't started, right?
The Drexel game? I'll check for you, but I don't think so.
All right. If it hasn't, I got them +3 as my first pick.
Okay.
I think they're the better team and should be favored, so I think it's 3 points. Has UVA started? Was that at 1 o'clock?
UVA has not started, and neither did the Drexel game. So you're good on both accounts.
Okay. So I got UVA -25. They're playing they're playing Fairleigh Dickinson University. who's never won a game this year, and
they're awful.
25. They lose by 25 all the time. I think this is a get-right game for Virginia. I think they murder them.
My thing on the Virginia game is, do you think they'll get enough points? They play really good defense.
Yeah.
They get enough points to go to 25?
I don't think Fairleigh Dickinson's going to score. They have the 347th offensive rating and the 353rd defensive rating.
Yeah, they're terrible. They're terrible.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about that one really. I got TCU money. I got TCU money line. I looked at the injury report for Georgetown. They got a guy out who's averaging 13 a game, and then 2 guys out averaging like 5 and 6. I also just think TCU is better than Georgetown, 8-1 on the year compared to 6-4. I also got Indiana -4.5 against Notre Dame. Notre Dame's coming off a huge win against Kentucky, but I'm also going to take UNC money line. I think Kentucky's awful this year. Kentucky, if you go up and down their schedule, they've played 9 games and they've played 2 good teams and lost both times. They're not a good team. You just got to look up and down their roster. They got, who's their one player that everyone freaks out about? Washington. He's not even that good. He had 6 points last game. These guys are playing. The Kentucky guards, they're too young. They're playing way too inconsistent. If you're betting on Kentucky -3 against a better UNC team, has a lot of like decent wins. Like they beat Michigan by 21. What is Kentucky done for me? Their best win is against Central Michigan.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Lock that one in. I like Western Kentucky +2 against Louisville.
All right.
Western Kentucky, I mean, it sounds like a weird pick. They're actually pretty good.
Yeah, they are.
Conference USA. They beat Ole Miss by 23 the other day, and that's a huge win. And then you look up and down their losses. They've lost to a good Memphis squad. Minnesota's pretty good. South Carolina's having a good year at 8-2, and Buffalo's solid. They're always in the tournament. So I feel like if they lost to 4 like great teams, and they beat Ole Miss by 23, who's 7-3 in the SEC. I think that's a good pick, getting them plus points. I think they're the better team. And then lastly, I think you were talking about Baylor. I like them -6.5. Oregon just not
Oregon's
the best.
Awful. Oregon's awful.
5 losses on the year. The line I feel like it should be a double-digit line. It kind of scares me. It feels a little trappy, but I'll still take it. And then my favorite pick of the night is George Mason +2.
Ooh.
Okay?
Yeah.
They're playing Georgia. Everyone would think Georgia's the better team. Going up and down, like I just said, going up and down the schedule. George Mason beat a good Navy team. And then you look at their losses. They've lost to a good Nevada squad, a good South Dakota State squad. JMU's good. Washington's all right, but they beat Maryland. Like they've played a hard schedule. Like the reason why they're 500 is because they played 6 teams with a winning record. Like it's not really, you can't really compare that. You look up and down these wins. Georgia's got a kind of impressive win against Memphis. That team's, I don't think they're very well coached. I'm going to be honest. Memphis is very like lackluster on defense and just looks unorganized on the floor. Like they don't really have an offense. I think it's just kind of just try to outscore your opponent with athleticism. So, I mean, that's just a Memphis point, but Georgia's lost 4 in a row to Wofford, Northwestern, Virginia, and Georgia Tech. Those teams aren't great, but they're also not very good either. Like those are all like middle of the pack SEC, ACC, and Big Ten schools. Like I think George Mason's going to win this outright, but give me him +2. They have a higher offensive defensive rating, and they have a higher field goal percentage, 3-point, and free throw. So I think they get it done.
Yeah. Let me ask you about a couple of games that I saw in here just scrolling through.
Sure.
What do you think about USC -8.5 over Georgia Tech?
I think it's a rat line. I kind of like the over.
Like the over?
I like the over in that one. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored there. If you look, look. I mean, USC, they do score a lot of points. They're 56 in the country in offensive rating.
Yeah.
But I just feel like Georgia Tech, they're not bad. Like they're gonna lose this game. They lost to I mean, their past 3 games have been against tough competition, and they're gonna play a tough team. They played LSU, UNC, and Wisconsin. I mean, they kept Wisconsin kind of close, but they beat, like I just said, that Georgia team. They beat them by 10. So that shows you like where Georgia Tech is at. They'll keep they'll lose by double digits to the good squads, but like the mediocre teams they'll beat. So this is a good squad. I do think they'll lose by double digits. So I would lean USC -8.5, but I would take the over instead.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, this was the same line I think they had against LSU as well, and they lost that game by 16, I think.
I think you're right. Yeah.
And then the other one I want to ask you out that popped out to me, Xavier -10.5 over Marquette. I was thinking Marquette +10.5. I feel like that line's a little high, but what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, Xavier, they've only got that one loss in the year to Iowa State. I mean, they're a good squad. I wouldn't take Marquette though.
You don't think defensively they can hold them under 10? I haven't watched them recently though, so.
No, Marquette, they had a 16-point loss to St. Bonaventure earlier in the year, and St. Bonaventure just lost to Virginia Tech by 40. So I can't really take them seriously.
That's a fair point.
I missed one pick on my board that I just never said. I really like West Virginia +4 against UAB.
+4 against UAB. Yeah, I see it now, I think. Yeah.
It seems so weird that they're not favored because it's UAB. But
yeah, UAB is good.
Mm-hmm. UAB is decent, but West Virginia, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't they have a very good win recently?
Yes, they just beat. Who did they beat? I need to look it up.
UConn. They beat UConn at home.
Yes,
right, 3 points. And then West Virginia has one loss in the year, and it's to Marquette.
Yeah.
UAB has 2 losses on the year. It's to San Francisco and South Carolina. So no one's hurt on the Mountaineers. I don't know why they're not favored. So give me
actually a guy who plays significant. Well, I guess mediocre minutes for UAB. That's hurt as well. He plays about 20 minutes a game.
There you go. Yeah, and then I think I brushed over this quickly, but I really like UNC money line.
Yes, yeah, you did say that.
Point. I think they're going to win.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. Those are your picks for today, ladies and gentlemen. Solo is always good. He's always on fire. We love when he comes on and provides us with these picks because he's so solid. Does the research clearly, watches the game, so we appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Here, one thing. Stay away from the Kansas game for me, and I also like Texas A&M money line.
Texas A&M money line. Okay, yeah.
Oregon
I love
State.
it.
Yeah, Oregon. Yeah, all right.
Because Oregon State's also awful. Yes.
Yeah, they're bad. They're bad.
No Pac-12 school is good this year except for USC and UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a steep fall off after that.
I think USC is better this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think they might be too. I think they might be too. They've looked really good, so we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Well, have a good one.
Yeah, you too, man. Thanks for coming on. Peace.
Peace out.
All right, and finally, we'll just wrap things up with a couple things. Hi, Tony. Hi, Matt.
I know. I thought it'd be funny.
Tony, what are you eating? Tony, what are you eating?
What are you eating, Tony?
Can you hear me right now?
You can't hear me.
It's a sesame bagel toasted with turkey, lettuce, tomato, American cheese, Chipotle mayo.
Wow, that sounds good.
I see salt and vinegar chips, Geno.
Oh, love it.
You're not a fan?
No, he loves them. Me too, Gino. I just took 2 of them, a big one too.
I know. Oh, so good.
Dude, now I do. Good tip.
What's Matt saying?
Matt said I used to not like them, but now I do. They're a great chip.
They are a great chip. They are a great chip. They might sting a little bit, when you first have them, but they're good. They're good.
Yeah.
But yeah, just want to touch on a couple things that are happening tonight. Colts Pats tonight, 8:20 p.m. Eastern time here. That'll be a really good matchup. That's a good match. That's a big matchup for me as a fan, a very indecisive matchup for a Titans fan, because the Colts are in our division and I would like them to lose, but the Pats are in competition for the 1 seed. So, with the Titans. So I would also like them to lose. If neither team can win, that'd be great. But we'll see how that one plays out. The U.S. men's national team is also playing tonight against Bosnia-Herzegovina at 8 p.m. Eastern time. That a match it won't feature any of the European players. It'll feature basically an entire squad of MLS people, because MLS is on break. The European squads do not have a break right now. But still a good match to watch if you want to catch up on, or if you want to see some of the MLS talent that's out there. Ricardo Pepi will be playing, so watch for him. And then, of course, Tiger back on the course playing with his son. A lot of fun to see that. His son is literally a spitting image of him.
Crazy.
When he plays. It's ridiculous. Same mannerism, same everything. So Tiger was on the course today, playing. So it will, if it's on TV, I'm not even sure if it's on TV, it'll be fun. And then just a quick shout out to New York City FC for winning the MLS Cup. Go team. But that's it. I think that wraps it up. My YouTube TV has officially become a crutch for me because they ended their relationship with Disney, which means I lost all my ESPN channels.
Shoot.
So hopefully they come to an agreement sometime soon. But as of right now, I am a little screwed. But I do have my parents' login for their Verizon account. So that is how I will be watching.
That's clutch.
But I would much rather be doing it on YouTube TV. So hopefully that works out. But anything else, Mike?
No, I think you covered. I'm glad you mentioned the New York soccer team winning, because we didn't talk about it.
Yeah, man, it was crazy. The other team scored a late goal in regulation. Well, in stoppage time, really. They went to extra time, then they went to penalty kicks, and they won on penalty kicks. So it was pretty awesome.
That's awesome. No, yeah, and that's it. When is the Woodley and Jake Paul fight?
I don't know. They did it. I think they had weigh-in today, I thought. I don't know. I saw Jake Paul was chirping him for something.
It's in 7 hours. It's today.
Yeah. I was about to say, I'm pretty sure it's happening soon.
It's in 7 hours. There you go.
Bing bong. There you go.
Yeah.
That's it then. All right.
Yeah, dude. Great show, man.
Another great show. We covered a lot, and we kept it to an hour and 12 minutes. So I'm happy with that.
Yeah, it was good.
All right. Thank you guys for watching and following along. Hope you guys enjoyed what we covered. Hope you guys learned something new.
For the holidays, merch is available at our website at www.downtimetv.com.
Yep, downtimetv.com. Go get merch right now. We got everything. Mike, turn the camera towards you.
I'm wearing some.
You're wearing some merch.
Hold on, Renee's turning it right now.
Okay, cool. Some awesome stuff.
Yeah, Matt actually. Matt for Christmas is getting a black one, and he's getting a white beanie.
Oh, dope. Those are so nice.
Champion too, dude. Champion.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, so we got more material like that. I know you have a fanny pack over there too, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, we have, dude. The website's flooded. It's dope. Everybody go check it out. But
even if it's just a t-shirt,
and drink American Mule responsibly.
Yes, drink.
Hey guys, Tony here from Downtime TV.
Checking in.
I want to thank all our fans out there who've been liking, subscribing, sharing our content. You guys are the best. You guys are our bloodline. You make us love what we do.